Hi, this is going to be a tutorial on how to integrate the Steam Workshop into your game. This should work for both Unity and Unreal or any language as long as it's either C++ or C Sharp. I'm using the C Sharp API wrapper made by Riley Labrecque. Here's its name. It is one-to-one with the, or as one-to-one as you can get with the C++ API. Only differences are going to just be some syntax, and that's about it. So moving on. You should have the Steam API or SteamWorks API docs open to help you understand what some of the methods are doing. They also have a Steam Workshop implementation guide online. So these are two good resources in order to help you understand what's going on. So just to give some context, this is my game, The Lost Marble. I uploaded it to Steam 3 weeks ago? I don't know. But I've got a level editor inside of it. And if anyone wants me to leave a comment, it's a 3D level editor if you want to learn how to do one of those with like Pro Builder. Basically making like cubes and whatnot, and also instantiating your prefabs in certain areas in the world space. I can do that. But that's not what you're here for this video. You want to know about the workshop. What I've done here is I've just set it up so that you can have input fields for your name and your description, as well as a preview image for your workshop item, and then you just click submit and it gets shipped off to the Steam Workshop for my game. Alright, so let me give you a little more context. This is I have like a parent object that like holds all my input fields as well as the buttons, and I've just given it references to those things. If you know how to use the Unity, you'll understand how to do that. And this tutorial is assuming you know how to use Unity, as well as the fact that you have a Steam manager set up. There's plenty of tutorials on how to do that that are really great. Alright, so the steamworkshop.cs script. The start of this script you won't need to care about. It's irrelevant to you. It just has to do with how I'm picking the preview image. So these are the functions you're going to need to care about. Submit to workshop, as well as on create item. So I'll zoom in on this so you can get a better idea of what is going on here. Alright, so basically the way I use map data in my game is I pull it from the application's persistent data path, and that's where I also store it when my users save their maps. So basically if they're trying to upload a map to the Steam Workshop, I give them the path. This is from the input, and basically I just check if it exists. And if they are selecting an image for the workshop, I just check to make sure it's under 1 megabyte. You can do that with a fileinfo.length and then this. So basically I do those two checks. I also check if their Steam manager is initialized. That is pretty much, you're always going to want to do checking if the Steam manager is initialized. I should have just done another and here and done that, but it's whatever. That's just how I hacked it together. I have a little audio cue, that's besides the point, and what you're going to want to do is set a create call result right here. Sorry for scrolling around so much. So what you do is I have a global variable called create call res. I believe it's up here. Yep, create call res. And so what I've done is I've set it right here. I've set it equal to a call result, and then you give it the type create item result. And then after you've done that, you're going to want to .create on create item. So your on create item is your callback function down here. If you want to learn more about callbacks, this is not the place to do it. This is just going to be structurally how to be integrating Workshop, but generally you're going to need to do this. After you've done that, you're going to want to create a handle. So the handle is going to just be equal to the SteamUGC.createItem, and this is where you pass it in the parameters of your app ID. You can't just give it the number, you have to say a new app ID and then give it the number. And also the workshop file type. So if you want your users to be able to upload their files just to the community without approval and whatnot, set it to workshop file type community. After that, now that you've created and set your create call result and your handle, and again, you don't have to name your variables these things, that's just what I did so that it made sense. You can say create call result dot set handle. Alright, so basically the callback happens, I believe here, I'm not I'm not an expert on callbacks either, so I believe it gets called here, and then what happens is you will get this p callback, and so this p callback contains some information that you're going to want. It's going to have the published file ID as well as the fact of whether your user needs to accept the workshop legal agreement. That's something important you're going to want to check, because Valve doesn't want users to be able to upload to the workshop if they haven't agreed to the legal agreement. So make sure to include an else here to redirect them to the legal page. Let me zoom out a little. I can zoom in a little more. You don't need to see all my comments. These are just copy and pasted from the docs, the comments. So basically I check if they've agreed to the legal agreement, and then you're going to want to create an update handle. I believe there's another global variable that I made. Update handle, yep, it's a UGC update handle type, just so you know the types. I'm trying to show you those. So you make this update handle, and you set it equal to the SteamUGC.startItemUpdate. This is just another thing you'll have to do. Pass it in your app ID again, and then this time you're going to be using your p callback, and you're going to give it the published file ID. So the published file ID is unique to your file that you're trying to upload. Now that you've made the update handle, you can set all sorts of attributes on the item. So you can say set item title, set item description, and set item content, as well as set item preview or visibility. So for each of these functions, all you need to do is pass it in the update handle, as well as whatever you want to update it to. So if I'm setting the title, I say, alright, pass in the update handle, and then I pass in some text. That should be from my input field. Same with the description. And the item content is literally, so the content is, I believe if I hover over it, it'll show you. Yep. So the second parameter is a string that is called the PSZ content folder. So this is just the folder on their machine where the content resides. So basically I get that path. You can get the path however you want. I believe I get the path up here. Yep. And since it's a global variable, it shares it. So after that, this is just stuff that I did for setting the preview image and making sure that the preview image exists before trying to upload it. After that, I set the item visibility to 0 to make sure it's public. I believe there's like a 1 and a 2. 1 is private or hidden. I haven't looked into that, but I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you want to, you can look at the docs and see what the other numbers mean. But generally, you'll want to set this to 0. Alright, so after that, you can finally do your last little call to SteamUGC and say .submit item update. And then you're going to pass it in the update handle once more. And I believe this is just a little note, change note, that no one really sees, so you can just set that to whatever you want. After that, I show them, I open a web page to their community file, and that's always going to be this little URL plus their published file ID. So that's one little trick you can use just to show them their item that they've uploaded immediately. They might have to refresh though. But yeah, I also just have a little animation. So that is how to upload or allow users of your game to upload files to your Steam Workshop. Moving on to Steam Workshop download. So this is only going to be useful to you if your users go into their Steam client and they visit your workshop, and then they see a map that they want, and then they click on it and they subscribe to it. You want them to be able to open their game the next time they want to play your game, and the map should already be there and accessible, so they shouldn't have to mess with any files. Basically what this does is it finds the files that they've downloaded through the Steam client for your game, and it will relocate them to your application's persistent data path. So if you're not using the persistent data path, that's alright. This is still useful for you if you want to find the location or the absolute path of where their workshop files are. So let me zoom in on this. So as always, check if the Steam Manager is initialized. Right here, you can get the number of items they've subscribed to. So basically, you're gonna just do get num subscribed items, store that in a variable, and basically, if they have subscribed items, you can store all of the published file IDs that we were using before into an array. So you create this array, you instantiate this array, and you just say it's equal to this. You make it. You get the size equal to the number of items because that's just sensible. And then what you do here is you're not going to actually use this ret variable. I don't believe, but what you're going to do is a get subscribed items call, and what you do is you pass it in that array you just instantiated, and then you pass it in the number of items. And what this function does is it copies all of the items into this array, or not the items, but it copies all of the published file IDs into this array, so it fills it. Now that you've filled that array, you can run through it in a loop and get information on each of them. So what you'll do is you'll call get item install info, and it's got all these outs, and the only out you really care about is this string folder. So what I did is I basically just said like, hey, get the files in the folder, and then basically I just get the path of each item, and then what I do is I copy the path of the subscribed item to my application's persistent data path, which is the destination path. If you aren't using, again, as I said, if you're not using the persistent data path, you would just care about the full path here, which is, this is how I got it. Other than that, this is just, what was this? This was just me ignoring the player.log and the player prev.log so that I can fill a scroll view. So this scroll view just contains all the names of all the files that my users have. And obviously I didn't want to include player.log and playerprev.log because that's always in there. So I should show you guys the file paths that I've been using. So let's see here. This right here is your application's persistent data path, just for reference. It's basically always going to be under your user, and then your app data local low. It's going to be my name for my game because that's, I think it's because I'm the author in my Unity project. So what they've done is, since I'm not a company, you'll notice like there's company names here, but if you were to download my game, you would see my name, my username here, and you would see all your map data here. So basically my map data is super simple. It's really small, so it's only kilobytes large because it's just text. And then at runtime, I instantiate and create all the objects when you load the level. So that's how I make my levels really small. Again, I can make a tutorial on that if anyone wants to figure that out. Alright, and then this is where the workshop content actually lives. So it's whichever, I put this on my D drive. I install my game on my D drive, and it's, you go to Steam Apps Workshop Content, and then the app ID of the game. So my app ID is 1313640, and then you see these two numbers, you're like, what are these numbers? These are the published file IDs. So if I were to go to this one, this is my trailer map, and it's got all this stuff. And if I were to go into here, you can see it gets copied into this path with the same stuff. So they're identical. Alright, other than that, I don't believe I've got anything else to cover. If anyone has any questions, leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer as much as I can. And yeah,